was incredible. Stories that were handed down, how we came to be in the Southwest. Now, we're going to move on. When my grandfather used to meet, okay, he was a hatathi, a medicine man, and he was exceptionally, I would say, you would always I always tell you he walked on water. He was so exceptional and very spiritual, prayerful to the hilt, obedient and incredible, and very, very wise. And so when I was in the Hogan with the 12 men, and they would first cleanse themselves, go to a trache, the sweat lodge, fasting. They would cleanse themselves, then they'd clean up and come into the Hogan, and all 12 of them would sit around in the Hogan. And again, I was behind Grandpa. I told you I was always behind him. And I was allowed there, remember, because I was non-menstrual. And so, and I was a little child. And I hung on to Grandpa. Well, when they were there were stories. I mean, there were oral histories. And they would bring out their, what you would call their seer stones. When they would sit in a circle, they all had a seer stone. Now, this is a big fat one. This is not a seer stone, but it was a rock that sometimes was, but it was round. And they would hold it in their hand, and they would see things in there. And they would share their history of the people there and everyone took turns in the room. And the things that they would speak about, and what I learned from these men, is that they would talk about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. They would tell the specifics, and then they would say the prayer. And it was so profound, and I would end up crying because it was absolutely beautiful to listen to the crucifixion and the song and the prayer. Then added to that, they would talk about how our people came here. And some of the things that I wrote down was that my grandfather said we came from the east, and that eventually that Christ, after he was crucified, that he walked among the people. And I did say to you before, when we would be riding on a wagon and going through Chaco Canyon, he would slow down and stop and tell my Biji and me and those in the wagon, and he said that Christ walked here, that he blessed the people, he taught them, he healed them, and he blessed them. And he would tell them when he was ready to leave, and they were so sad. And he taught them the herbs, how to heal and heal themselves, you know, and to bless one another. And he left with them all of the things that he did for them so that they could do for themselves. And anyways, and then you would carry on, and he would just continue to expound upon that. And I didn't really understand, but I came to know how true that was. When Christ would leave, and he appeared to other tribes, and then he would come again, and he would bless them again. And so it was an incredible experience, that as I was at the feet of my grandfather and these 12 men, how they expounded upon the oral histories that they knew, that I knew, that meant everything to them. And it was their foundation, and they wanted to be sure to carry it on. And few Dene people know these things. And the argument is always, well, you know, the white people brought us Christianity. It is not, well, they brought it later, but we as Native Americans and my people as the Dene people, they walked and talked with Christ long before the pilgrims came.